Hi, my name's Sam from WTM Centre Sydney, and I just wanted to share with you a portion of Transform Your Life and Save the World by Jeremy Griffith that I find particularly inspirational. It's on page 44, and it's in the context of Jeremy talking about the novel Don Quixote. And I'll just quickly read this short portion and then explain why it's sort of so meaningful and inspirational for me. So Jeremy writes, "Well, Don Quixote is the story of an elderly man who gets out of bed, renames himself Don Quixote of La Mancha, dons an old suit of armour, takes up an ancient shield and lance, mounts his skinny old horse and calls on his loyal but world-weary companion Sancho to join him on the most spectacular of adventures." And then Jeremy says, "As I've depicted below," and I'll talk about the drawing that Jeremy's done in a moment, "as I've depicted below, coming across a field of large windmills, the noble knight says, 'Look yonder, friend Sancho, there are outrageous giants whom I intend to deprive of life, and the expiration of that cursed brood will be an acceptable service to heaven.'" And Jeremy writes on, "And it is in that vein that their crazed and hopeless adventure went on, gloriously doomed battle after gloriously doomed battle, feeble beings charging at and trying to vanquish the outrageous giant, ignorance of the fact of our species' fundamental goodness. But that has been the lot of every human for some 2 million years. Wave after wave of quixotic humans have thrown themselves at that outrageous giant of ignorance for eons and eons, as bit by tiny bit they accumulated the knowledge that would finally make the redeeming explanation of our human condition possible." And so as you can see there, I've marked that up, and there's just, for me, there are just so many access points to just how significant the work or the explanation of the human condition is as synthesised by Jeremy Griffith, but in particular as an access point to just how heroic humans have been, and particularly the line, "gloriously doomed battle after gloriously doomed battle, feeble beings, wave after wave of quixotic humans have thrown themselves at this outrageous giant of ignorance." And as Jeremy describes there, ignorance of whether or not we're fundamentally worthwhile, and all of that has been dedicated to this goal of accumulating enough knowledge to be able to have the redeeming explanation of our human condition synthesised. And that's now what's arrived as presented by Jeremy Griffith in his various works, including Transform Your Life and Save the World. And then there's this illustration that Jeremy refers to at the bottom here, and it's just a depiction of Don Quixote and his companion Sancho and the windmills in the distance that he's, if you like, throwing himself into. And there's that reference from Don Quixote where it says, "The expiration of that cursed brood will be an acceptable service to heaven." And that's such the fundamental point, that despite our craziness, despite being quixotic, despite these gloriously doomed battles, it's all ultimately been in the service to heaven in terms of fulfilling our potential. And Jeremy's put this little caption underneath the drawing, "the human spirit," and he's underlined "the human spirit." And it's just a good example when you stop and actually let yourself feel the emotion of what's actually communicated in that, the human spirit, this essence of the fact that we've persevered despite these massive shortcomings and imperfections, this implication that we're bad, the fact that we've had the courage to persevere in that search for knowledge that's now ultimately been successful. So as I said, I just wanted to share a short extract from one of Jeremy's works that's particularly inspirational for me and an access point in terms of being able to understand how heroic humans have been, and from there understanding the immense importance of the fact that explanation of the human condition has now been found, and we can now set about supporting that as much as we can. Thank you.